I bought the Nikon Z6iii as a joke. It was supposed to be debunked immediately, like lowest dynamic range in the business, your 4K 120 has a crop, get out of my house. But I just took it out versus the A7S III, side by side. Yeah, that just happened. It's Canadian money, it still counts.
All I want is the perfect camera. All I want is the perfect camera.
So here's what happened. I just went for a long wildlife walk with both setups, one in each hand. When I saw a monster, I would film it, put the other between my legs, switch it out, boom, and just try to do side-by-side comparisons, 6K 60 RAW versus 4K 120, 4K 120 with the crop versus boom. So first shot we saw, I always call these dragonflies, and then you guys correct me, and I always forget what you correct me with, but little beetle bug wing boy, he's flapping his way, disgusting Sony green skin tones. 4K 120, 10% crop. Now what if we switched on over to Nikkor boy? Boom. Nikon Z6iii, 600mm prime versus the zoom. Oh, we'll get to that. And it's 6K 60 RAW versus 4K 120, not RAW at all. It's cooked. Sony's much cleaner in the noise performance, but hot damn is that Nikon sweet. It's pretty sharp. Punching in on the Nikon, since it's an aps-c crop in 4K 120, but it's still RAW. It's still the quality and just the magic of it. It's a benefit for wildlife people. Like, I get the argument, see you later, beetle boy. I've made this argument. You buy a full frame camera, you're carrying the weight of a full frame lens, but your best frame rate is cropped. If you would have just went with a crop sensor, you'd save all that money and weight. But this does full frame still, 6K 60. So it's like, it's just a bonus. It's a hilarious bonus that you get to punch into 4K 120 closer to your animal, and it's slower motion. Now let me just deal with you hobos right now who are saying, you should have compared it with the 180 to 600. That's the comparison. I know, you dick. I don't have it. So this is what I have, and I'm comparing what I have. Is the Nikon with a prime better than the Sony with the zoom? It clearly is. It's a stupid comparison, but come on. We'll have fun. Now here I was panicking to see that I saw a raccoon. I was like, oh my God. I'm manually focusing because Sony wouldn't latch onto it. I was like, okay, is that the same one? I think it's the same one that was bleeding from the neck. I have a feeling it was. And he survived it. 4K 120, it's kind of soft, a little bit, but it's Sony footage. Now, when I put my lens away to get him with the Nikon, he ran into the night. This is as close as we're ever going to get to seeing that raccoon on the Nikon, but he left me. He left me for good, but it's a mysterious shot. It's pretty good, actually. I could see that in a movie. Wouldn't you be afraid? Like, what's that? It's just a raccoon. He's gonna eat your hot dog buns. Just don't leave them out. So yes, we're comparing a Sony Zoom to a Nikon Prime, and it's not fair, I know that, but Sony doesn't have an affordable Prime. Nikon's the one that went for that. Sony's had the E-mount much longer. They had plenty of time to come out with an 800mm Prime or something, but Tony 8? Come on, that would be sweet. Sony would probably make it super light, but they don't want to cannibalize their professional $20,000 600mm Tony 4. Whereas Nikon made something somewhere in the middle, still expensive as hell. You know what's funny? When I went out today, I sent a message to my friends in nature. I said, hey fellas, I'm here to film you. Do whatever you want, just be patient with me. I'm doing 2 cameras here, so just stay where you are, and then I'll film you side by side. It'll be a good comparison. Not one of them listened to me. They all flew off. I was like, okay, get the Nikon. Oh, he flew. I still got him somewhat. He was, I don't know that's in focus at all, but I got a bunch that are definitely comparable shots. This is not one of them, but there's 4K 120 versus 4K 120. Nikon's in an aps-c crop. We got an ant attacking the butterfly. That was pretty magical. No, it wasn't in focus. I realized I should not have been in butterfly detect autofocus, but there we have an ant versus a butterfly moment. Sony's biggest advantage is that they get closer. It has better macro abilities. Don't pay attention to that focus. It's just you cannot get as close with the Prime, and that is a problem a bit, but I feel like the 6K60 is so much sharper that you would just be able to crop in post and still get the same, if not better, magnification, especially you're a prime lens and 6K. We got a lot of cool HD 240 comparisons coming up. This was the worst of all of them, but if I'm being honest, I'm thinking Nikon looks a little sharper, probably due to the prime lens that Sony doesn't own, so it's fair enough. One thing Sony's way better at is manual focus. I don't think Nikon has linear manual focus. It's just jumping all the time. It's really hard to just smoothly focus on something. It's actually quite annoying. I'm surprised they don't have it. Every other company seems to. Panasonic lets you like change the sensitivity of it. Nikon might have the worst manual focus in the history of all time. The biggest downside of the Sony for me is just that the weight of the lens is front heavy and it's always swaying around, whereas when you switch to the Nikon, it's just pretty much rock solid Panasonic level. That's the biggest thing for me, and the weight of the system now. It's not like the Sony looks bad in comparison, although that light changed a lot. God is favoring Nikon right now. That's a little rude, but 6K versus 4K. Is that better? Because I've wanted to know, like, 4K is punched in, so it's like, oh, is that really fair? But like, you see that you get closer because of that crop, so it kind of throws the minimum focus distance out of the equation because it doesn't even matter. You're in APS-C mode. Sony can't even do that. Here's where Sony shines a bit. The low light. Come on, we got to give that victory to Sony, right? A little cleaner in the shadows, a little better exposed. Come on, that's a Sony victory. It's bound to be. This was in bird eye detect for the Nikon. Now I know it sounds like I'm gushing over the Nikon, but like, just be real. You have a Sony A7S III, 200 to 600, you have that set up, and then this comes along. You're beating the specs in a lot of areas, and then you have this lighter prime. It's so much more fun to use. I'm just blown away by the footage and the usability of it. And then you got your animal eye detect that's actually working most of the time reliably, and I still haven't even figured out the camera, like switching focus boxes quickly, and I don't even know how to use this thing yet, and it's so much more fun that I sold the 200 to 600 immediately. There's an ant on me. I should have filmed it in wildlife, slow motion. Here we have some HD 240 frames per second action of a robin. I was down on the ground with both cameras. I was trying to line him up, but he ran like a bastard child of the night. Oh, it was so annoying trying to keep him in the center box, which was not possible at all, but we got a bunch of moments here. He bursted away on the Sony, but I got him closer. I caught up with him again. I cut him off. I know how to do that with robins. You offer them a worm. So here's Nikon HD. It's a 5% crop, whereas Sony has no crop. So there you have a 5% advantage. But I don't know that it really shows up in real life. But the Sony looks good. They both look very similar. I don't know that one's like a clear winner. It's just straight out of camera. I prefer the Nikon, just the contrast, the exposure, the colors. I forgot to mention one devastating flaw that I just noticed when I got home. I was like, oh yeah, damn it. I was in standard color for the Sony, and I'm doing like log and raw for the Nikon. I didn't mean to do that. So like, we should be seeing a dynamic range advantage maybe for Nikon, but I don't see it on paper. But like, it looks good anyway. I had the dynamic range level up to 3 on the Sony, so it should be fine. But S-Log would have been the ultimate comparison, and I can never get it back. Now, I would have loved for Nikon to push the industry forward and do more than 240 frames per second, but at least you matched my Sony, and the fact that your lens destroys any lens I could have ever got for Sony, that's what made me switch into the system. But I prefer filming myself on Sony. Everything about YouTube production, Sony is way better. I prefer the colors. It's like more even skin tones. It's not like super drastic red, even if I'm green. I don't even care. It's like, I can see the zebras much better. Nikon has weird zebras. I saw a bird. Oh, he was bird-like. Animal eye detect. Nice blue sky. Sony would have given you a purple alien sky. He turned around. He's like, Nikon? not bad. Okay, I'll face you. He wouldn't have faced me if I was on the Sony. He refused it. He said, no, switch into the 4K 120, and then now I'll let you do the Sony. You're going to pull it out now? Okay. Yeah, I tricked you. I'm not going to be filmed in your bullshit color science. Sony greens aren't so bad. They're good. That's a good shot. That's a beautiful green. Come on, you know it is. Sony HD. Wow, high definition. Come on. You watched a basketball game in high definition once. You were blown away, just like you are now. I got some very cool moments with a father and son. Little son bird, he's like, oh, can I come up, Papa? You gonna feed me? Yeah, let's do this. The dad was waiting. He was waiting. How did I even get that? I don't even remember that whole... No, that is the son waiting. And then the dad came. He's like, I got some Fruit Loops. Do you want some? They're rice, I think. It's rice from a Chinese restaurant. That's what you're gonna be grown up here. Oh God, what is that? Oh, there's MSG in it, Dad. Oh, I don't even feel healthy. Why did you do that to me? Side by side, of course. HD 240. That's when the magical moments happen. And like, just birds seem weightless. The slower the better. I'm still waiting for 480 frames per second. Panasonic tried 300, but you get no autofocus. It's so unreliable. And you have no prime lenses. Little 200 mil. What's that gonna get you? A hot dog? But like, come on. Bird astronauts. Just floating around, boom. He teaches his son to hang on. You notice that momentum, son? Good job. I'll feed you again some Chinese rice later. Less MSG this time. Yeah, the Nikon seems like it has just the sharper everything. Even the 4K 120 in the crop seems better than Sony's full frame version. But yes, of course, that's all due to the prime lens that Sony doesn't have. The 6K does look so much better than the HD. It's not even funny, but there's definitely moments where I would switch into HD just for that super slow-mo stuff. But like stuff like this where birds aren't moving much, of course you want the highest resolution. Just give me a little bit of slow-mo on it. See you later, buddy. See, that takeoff would have been way better in 240. We got Sony with the 4K 120. It's always been a good image. It's just I'm always fighting the color science. The stabilization has always irritated me. The weight. Having no animal eye detect, even though it's in your cheaper cameras now. But Nikon, you're able to punch in. It's almost like having a built-in teleconverter. That's what 4K 120 is. It's like, oh, there's your teleconverter, and it gets so much more stable. I'm in love. You know what I'm not in love with? This next moment. Picture this. I filmed this little moth with the Sony 4K 120p. It's like, okay, got a little bit? Cool. Put it down between my legs. 6K 60 RAW on the Nikon. All right, boom. Now I'm gonna compare 4K 120 both. It's gonna be the ultimate sharpness test. Let me just switch into that. And I did. And you know what happened? Because it took me so damn long to turn that stupid dial that I have to take my hand off to even touch the damn thing. I missed the shot. Every day, it's like the biggest deal-breaking flaw that they put that dial on this left side, and I'm just, every time I go outside now, I'm just like, I'm gonna have to deal with that at some point. I'm looking at the bird and I'm just trying to stick my nail in here and hope that I'm keeping it in the frame, and I'm just like, left, okay. And sometimes I get it, sometimes that takes too long. It's just too long. It's so annoying. Whereas if the dial was just here, it'd be instant. Boom. It would be like a second. Whereas I miss these shots and they fly off. Help me. Nikon, for the love of your children, please come up with a solution to that so I don't have to switch custom modes with this. Let me do it with a button and a dial or something like that. That'd be amazing. A custom button, and then I'm just press, flip. I'm in custom 1, 2, 3. Please do this for me. You're good with the firmwares. We're working together, right? I've heard Nikon firmwares all the time. Otherwise, I have to go Z8 somehow. Sell the Z6iii, but then I lose my 240p. Is that coming in a firmware? Which are you gonna firmware first? I'll buy it. I saw a guy painting his dreams. He was painting the landscape. Wasn't even close to accurate. I walked by it, I was like, What are you even seeing? I don't even see that, but you're having fun. The umbrella, shading the light. Anti-photographer umbrella. It was a good moment. Lots of furry allergy causing things. So Nikon is the future, my friend. For telephoto, they came out with a bang immediately addressing huge amounts of telephoto glass. The 100 to 400, a 400 prime, another 400 prime, a 600 prime, and then another 600, and then the 180 to 600. Like, they just put everything into it. Whereas Sony, you had a couple professional lenses and then one zoom, and that's like 25 years ago that was invented. Same with Canon, they have a couple professional primes and then super budget primes and then one zoom now that's kind of strange with the dark tonies and a super long throw of the rocker. So I think this is the first time where I'm just like, it wasn't even close. Someone actually beating Sony, not just the image quality due to the prime mostly, but just using it. Such a pleasure to use if you didn't have to touch that dial. But with the Nikon firmware coming soon, with just one button press and boom, custom dial is this now. Oh man, can you imagine it? Wow, one button and boom. How long would that take? There's the bird, boom. Wow. Versus, there's the bird. Ow, just cut my eye on the viewfinder. Ow. Turned it the wrong way, I'm in photo mode. Don't take a picture. So I feel like things are making more sense now. I prefer to film myself and vlog with the Sony. Boom. Nikon is a dedicated wildlife system, and it's just separate. I go outside, I bring this. If I'm gonna vlog, I bring the Pocket 3 or this. And it's making more sense now. I got a bunch of Nikon lenses. I might do a bunch of little comparisons and see what the difference 4K RAW versus freaking whatever you got, H.264, your mom. But right now for wildlife video, Nikon is king. I don't see it. I don't even see the competition. It's not even close right now. Boom, there it is. That is your sweet spot. The 800mm prime would be even better, but it's so heavy and expensive that I think this is the sweet spot lens. It's actually pretty light. It feels more like a Fuji system in its full frame result with raw and stupid. Great autofocus, the Stabe, Panasonic level. It's like it combines everything, annoys you enough with the dial to keep you humble. But that's the only fault I have found so far. And it is devastating. And let me just apologize for that mishaps. I didn't realize this got caught on the fringer things, those little flicky things. So now this card comes out just perfectly. There's plenty of room. It was like up here. And I was like, are you joking, Nikon? It was the dumbest thing. It got caught on the thing. I didn't even see it. And I deleted the source files so I couldn't re-edit the video. So that's on me. I owe you a firmware on that one, Nikon. So on paper, the Nikon seemed to barely match the Sony A7S III, but in the real world, it far beyond surpasses it with usability and fun factors, except that damn dial. So pretty good. Thank you, Camera Canada, for the deal. Boom, let's all go to Camera Canada tonight after you donate Bitcoin. You choose one or the other. Not both, not on my time. All right? These are available through my affiliate links, by the way. Find a used copy if you can. Huh? You won't? Subscribe for more videos?